I started this podcast because I'm fascinated by how we get better at bridge, how we reach that next level. I'm talking with expert players about how they got where they are and what they do to continue honing their skills, to less experienced players about what they're doing to improve their game, and to experts in fields outside of bridge, like learning and expertise. If you're looking to level up your game, check out my classes on Learn Bridge Online. Mondays are about the expert thought process, and Thursdays are about declare or play. You can attend the classes live or you can watch the recorded replay. I'm looking forward to leveling up together. We are joined this week by Ida Grönkvist. Did I get that right? Close?
Close enough, I would say, yeah.
Close enough, coming to us from Sweden?
From Stockholm.
From Stockholm. Well, welcome, Ida. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm very happy to join you.
Let me start with my always first question. How did you learn bridge?
I started learning when I was around 11 years old. My parents were vivid bridge players, and they taught me and my brother when we were on vacation to some random place. And both of us got very into it. Once we got back to Sweden and we had gone to the bridge club a few times and we found other young players in the game, that was when we really took to it. And since that moment in my life, bridge has been like a constant presence.
Were you a big reader of bridge books as a kid?
As a kid, no. I remember my grandfather gave me Adventures in Card Play when I was in my teens. I think that was the first bridge book that I enjoyed. I'm a vivid reader in general, but I have to say I don't read as many bridge books as I would like to.
Do you read much these days?
I love reading, but and there is always a bridge book on my to-read list, but it's usually not the book I pick up first. Usually it's books made by friends that make it to the top first. And then the more technical books that I think I would maybe have more use of reading, they tend to get stuck on my nightstand unread a bit longer.
Are there any favorites or ones that have really opened your eyes?
I enjoy a lot of the books written by the greats like Bob Hammond and Sia, because they have such a great way of combining the great stories that I also attach to bridge with also some fantastic hands. And it also makes it more of a light read, I would say, than if you get into some of Martin's books or something on a bit more on the technical side. So I've always loved books by Sia. I remember I started reading when I was very young, and it enhanced my love for the game.
Have those books been translated into Swedish? Do you read them in English?
And most of the books I've read in English. Some of Sia's books has been translated to Swedish. A lot of his articles has been translated to Swedish as well. There's a big interest for them in the Swedish bridge community.
And so, okay, you learn as a teenager and you start playing with your family and you find some other kids. What was the path from there?
So when we came home from this vacation, we started practicing at the kitchen table for 6 months or so with our parents. My mom was an international player. She went to play for the Swedish women's national team every year. So we knew there was more of a competitive environment out there, both me and my brother. And then after 6 months or so, our parents thought we were good enough to go to the bridge club. So we went there and played with our parents. This was, of course, a very important moment for both of us. And I remember it specifically because I won over my brother on that first tournament. And that, of course, he's 2 years older than me. So that was a great achievement that I carried with me for a long time. And I think it also helped me with being even more enthusiastic going forward. So we started with going to the bridge club. We went to a few of these local junior tournaments in Sweden, went to a junior camp, met other young players. And from this trail, we were quite soon picked up in a group of junior players. We were picked to play on the under 21 team for Sweden in the summer of 2007, playing with two much more experienced players, one of them being Sandra Rimstedt, who was my partner back then. So she was 19 and I was 12 when we went to play our first Europeans together in Italy. And that was the most amazing thing ever, besides the fact that we were able to travel without our parents to a different country. But that was also the first real serious tournament that we played, and we had such a great time.
So at 12,
your parents just put you on a plane and sent you to Italy
In a car, but yes,
in a
pretty
car?
much. And I
Okay.
think they were able to do that. Of course, nowadays we have the under 16 category, so we are maybe more used to also at the international level to have like young kids at these tournaments. At that time, it was a bit rare for someone so young to be playing in the under 21. But I think because my mom was playing internationally herself, it was easier for her to understand what it was about and, of course, to encourage us to do it. So that helped with the decision. I'm very understanding for if you have bridge playing or if you have non-bridge playing parents to send your kids by themselves to a different continent or to a different country when you don't even understand what it is they're going to do there. It's a tough decision. But yeah, our parents were very lax about it.
Was that intimidating, being 12 years old and playing all these like university students?
It was at first, but it helped playing with someone much older and more experienced. So Sandra was really mentoring me in that tournament and taking great care of me. And also the whole group, of course, there was all the under 26 team, and there was like a whole community, and they were really taking care of me and my brother. So we felt included, and we also felt a little bit safe and guarded. But I remember one of my biggest issues was that my English was not so good back then. Also communicating with these different teenagers and kids from other countries and understanding their methods and trying to communicate our methods in English was a big challenge.
Did that motivate you to work on your English?
Most definitely.
Bridge?
I came home
Yeah.
from that trip with so many new friends from all over Europe. So it was definitely part of my motivation when I came back to school to become better in English.
My sense is that the Swedish junior program is like among the best in the world. Would you agree with that assessment?
I wish that was true. I think we've had a very successful junior program in the sense that we've managed to find a lot from a small pool of players. In reality, we've managed to find a lot of youth players that has been quite successful in recent years. When it comes to the quantity of junior players, we are far behind both of our Scandinavian neighbors, Denmark and Norway, for instance. And I think both France and Poland are doing a much better job nowadays in finding a big community of players, because, I mean, you can't only focus on finding the top level players that will play on the national teams and maybe go on to play on an open level later. To save this sport, you need to find people who wants to enjoy bridge on all levels. And I feel like in this regard, Sweden could do a lot more. But what we've had is that we've had very dedicated, serious trainers for the junior program on a high level, where we were all given very good opportunities to evolve.
What do you think Norway and Denmark are doing better in terms of recruiting numbers?
They have a greater vision at the moment. They've both had different types of school programs where they reach out to schools. They have been working very hard in the last 2 or 3 years and are seeing a lot of success. The problem, it always comes down to 2 or 3 things, right? You need the money, you need the good idea, and then the hardest thing usually is to find the right people to do it. You need dedicated people who can put a lot of time and effort into making it come true. And it has to be the bridge players, but maybe more importantly, it has to be people who have some kind of educational skills so that they can talk to the kids in a right way and make them interested in the game going forward. And then there's a second part to it that I think a lot of countries are struggling with, is even if you are able to get maybe kids at school into a program and learn the first steps, you still need a plan how to take them to the next level, take them into the bridge clubs or taking them into some other environment where they can continue to play the game. And I feel a lot of countries get stuck in that first stage of recruiting. So maybe they find 100 kids that start playing bridge at school on Thursday afternoons or whatever. But once they have learned some of the foundations, and there is nowhere for them to continue, and you're going to lose all of them when they go into older grades at school. I'm happy to say, at least in Europe right now, there are some countries who are really trying and doing a lot for junior recruitment. And I hope that we will see the results from that in a near future.
How big was that mentorship that you got in the junior program in your development as a bridge player?
It meant a lot for me, especially considering, so since that moment, basically, I have continued to play bridge on a high level. Later went into play on the women's team and the mixed team, and to play high level open bridge in Sweden and in the rest of Europe. And I think what we learned in the junior program was we created a very good foundation on how to practice, how to set up a plan, what elements were needed in practice with a partner to build a solid and strong partnership, and also to create good habits around practice. I think all of these elements were key. And just learning in general to talk bridge with each other.
Tell me about what you learned there in terms of good practice habits.
So we spent a lot of time talking bidding methods, which I think is an extremely important part in a serious partnership. I would say when you come to high level competition, at least 70% of the match points or the imps are made in the bidding usually. So it's the key element for me that you don't want to mess things up during the bidding. So we spent a lot of time on bidding. We had our mentors preparing long sheets with questions on different situations, like what does Forno Trump mean in all of these Forno Trump auctions? What does Forno Trump mean in all of these different competitive auctions? What is this double, etc.? And at the time, a lot of it we found a little bit boring. But in the end, when we were comparing our answers to the answers of our partners, we realized a lot of the time it was a necessary question because we might not have given the same answer. And we spent a lot of time visualizing hands. In what positions would you open a 3-heart preempt with this hand? And on what vulnerabilities, etc. And we mix this, of course, with playing hands and talking over hands afterwards. Usually our mentors would prepare a deal set for us where maybe amongst the 24 deals we played, there would be 3 or 4 deals with some specific safety play or some specific technical aspect to it that was planted in the deal set. Of course, after a while, we all kind of learned the drill a little bit. So sometimes when you became declarer, when you had like a very standard auction to say for a major, you could sit there already as declarer and think, maybe something is fishy here. What about if Trump is breaking 5-0? And this was a little bit part of the point, because like what our mentors were trying to make us realize was the fact that even in the most standard forward-going normal hand, there can be bad surprises hiding for you. And your goal as a player is to be able to identify problems.
So how do you use that today in your day-to-day bridge preparation?
I still spend a lot of time and effort practicing bidding and system, talking about system with my partners. I find that to be extremely important. In general, I would say it's the emphasis on having a practiced and solid system agreements is the main part of what I'm still using. In a perfect world, I would still have all these training weekends the same way we did when we were kids, but unfortunately the time does not always exist for that.
You don't play bridge full time, right? You have a real job.
I have a real job that keeps me very busy, and so this of course means that I am not able to practice bridge as much as I would like to, and I have to be a little bit smart about how I practice and choosing good moments for it.
So what do you do in your day-to-day between tournaments just to try to keep yourself sharp?
I'm a big fan of qubits for the just everyday. It's just like one way. I don't think it's the best way to practice in general. In general, I think you are more focused if you're in the moment and you're doing something. It can be on the internet, but with your partner directly, it will be more focused and higher quality training. But it enables for you to, on your commute to work, or when you have 5 minutes waiting for someone for in a meeting, etc., it enables for you to at least think about bridge for a bit and to maybe scroll through some sequences in the system and whatever. So I think that this is one of the elements that I have found necessary to incorporate. And then, of course, you have to schedule your practice in a more grown-up way. For instance, in last fall, we were playing the World Mind Games in Buenos Aires, and me and my partner then, both of us are working full-time and having difficulties finding time for bridge, even though we live in the same city. But like the last month before the championship, we had a set date at like 7:30 in the morning when I was on the train commuting to work, and she was also commuting, where we would have like 45 minutes, an hour of just bidding on BBO and just like finding these small moments during the day where we can fit things in. But then, of course, you always need some quality training as well. So we always have to set aside a few weekends and whatever. But it's a little bit the same as with practicing for any other sport, I guess. If you have a big championship or a tournament coming up, you have to make a training program that stretches over time. And depending on how much time you will have, maybe you have to make it more intense towards the end, or maybe you can stretch it out. You have to follow whatever is possible for you.
So, in addition to the partnership work, do you do any work on your own, robots, anything like that, just keeping your declare play sharp?
Honestly, I usually do bridge master deals a couple of weeks before the tournament starts. Usually starts at a level where I feel very confident, just to build up my confidence, and then I gradually go up to the hardest deals. And this for me is also a way to kind of activate that part of my brain again, in the sense that if you are a full-time bridge player and you're always playing bridge, of course bridge is always very present in your mind. But for me, in my regular life, I kind of put bridge aside for a bit. So usually when I come to a tournament, it takes me 1, 2, or 3 days until I'm like completely there in my mindset and in my thinking. So I've felt that this has helped me, and usually I keep doing that in the mornings during tournaments as well. Just do 1 or 2 deals in the morning at breakfast, just to, get your mind going in the right way.
What does the rest of your routine look like when you're at a big tournament?
So at a tournament, I think consistency is key. So I try to have pretty regular sleeping patterns. I try to work out kind of regularly, just as I would do at home, go running in the mornings, things like this. Of course, you spend a lot of time with your team usually and with your partner. I think it's important to keep a good spirit and a good atmosphere, and to keep the team spirit high. I try to disconnect as much as possible from anything outside of the bridge world. My friends back home usually think I disappear, and then when I re-emerge after a week or two, they're like, "Oh, you've been at the bridge tournament," because I just feel that it's necessary to be like completely present. I think some people, when they're preparing, they're like reading the system and everything, and then the moment the tournament starts, they kind of quit that and they just play the boards. But what I've found is that if it's a tournament of maybe 2 weeks, towards the end of week 1, there's going to be sequences in the system that I have forgotten because they didn't come up and they are very unusual and whatever. So what I usually do is I keep reading the system, like a chapter of the system every day or so, just trying to keep it fresh in mind, because if it doesn't come up, I'm afraid that once I'm in the quarterfinal or the semifinal in the second week, all of a sudden I'm not going to remember it. So this is definitely something. And then the bridge master deals. Other than that, I'm just trying to also enjoy myself and have fun with the people I'm there with.
What's your eating and drinking schedule like? Do you drink alcohol at a tournament?
It depends. Typically not when we play these long tournaments, or very minimal consumption, because it's no secret that it both is not very good for your sleep and it will make you tired in general. So I find it beneficial not to drink.
Do you think diet and exercise and just kind of being generally fit matter at all at the bridge table?
Definitely. I mean, to some extent, bridge is not an endurance sport, but it's about mental endurance, especially when it comes to long tournaments. It's about not being mentally fatigued, and our brain gets tired if the rest of the body is tired. So you need to make sure that you're sleeping enough, that you're eating enough, not drinking too much, not doing anything else that will harm your body in general, I think, in order to perform your best.
Are there aspects of your day job that you feel help your bridge or bleed over into bridge?
Yeah, I would say there are some parallels. I feel like I've had more use of what I've learned through bridge in my day job than the other way around. I'm a lawyer by profession. I work in court as a judge. And this is also an environment that can be quite high pressure. You're usually sitting in front of people on a podium. You have trials that you've had very little time to prepare. You come into a room, you don't really know what's going to happen, and you have to stay calm and present and listen to everything that's going on and make decisions as you go, kind of. And to me, there's a lot of in this that's similar to when you're at the bridge table. It's extremely important to stay present in the moment, to analyze the behavior of the people around you, and you have to make a lot of decisions quickly. So I feel like I'm benefiting in both the worlds, in that I have to practice this ability and to keep cool and to stay focused and present. When you're in the courtroom, you're assessing evidence from what the people are saying. You're trying to translate that and draw logic conclusions. And the same applies in bridge. You are assessing the evidence, the cards people are playing, the bids they have made, and you're trying to make or draw logic conclusions from what's happening around you. And I feel in this way, the processes of what I do in my regular life and what I do at the bridge table is very similar.
Do you think that having this job and life outside of bridge makes you a better bridge player? Or do you think you would be better if you just were a full-time bridge pro?
I think there is no debate that I would be a better bridge player if I played bridge 365 days a year. Or at least 300. I don't have any illusion about being able to perform as well as some of the players we know that play bridge full time and dedicate, let's say, 75% of their mental capacity and their time to this lovely sport. It's such a complex and hard game that it takes a lot of time and effort to become really good. So no, of course, it's the same as with any other sport. If you're a full-time performer or athlete, you're bound to be better. But I am honestly quite happy with the balance I've found, and I'm happy. Even though I don't play as much as I would maybe like to, I'm still happy that I'm able to compete against these players and still hold my own to some extent. But you have to be kind to yourself also and realize that you are not in the same position as someone who is playing bridge all the time, every week. So it also makes sense that they will do better than you sometimes.
How did you make that decision to pursue and continue your legal career rather than just play bridge full-time?
It's not that I never considered bridge as a full-time career. Of course I did, because I have many friends who have chosen that path. I just realized quite quickly that I wanted to have something more, and I did a little bit more variation. And I love what I'm able to do now, where I'm able to jump from one world to another. Bridge is, in the end, just a game. It's a fantastic game. It develops your mind. It challenges you mentally in a way very few other games can do. And it gives you an opportunity to travel and to see people, fantastic people from all over the world with all kinds of different experiences. But in the end, it's still just a game. And I still feel that it's good to try and make contribution to society in some other way as well. Bridge is meaningful to me, but my legal work is even more meaningful, if that makes sense.
What are your non-bridge friends in, your legal life and your just normal life think of you in bridge, and suddenly you're in Philadelphia for 10 days playing bridge? Like, what do they think of that?
They've gotten quite used to it, especially my bosses at this point. Whenever I come and ask for some weird vacation time in the middle of some stressful time, or he or she is always like, let me guess, another bridge tournament. It's like, yep. So I think bridge is a mysterious world for people outside of it. First of all, a lot of people don't know what bridge is. And second of all, even the people who know what it is usually only knows about because they have some, old relative or something that plays at the local club, and they can understand that aspect of it. When it comes to traveling internationally and playing long tournaments, this is an unknown world to them. So, two of my best friends that used to sit in at bridge dinners back at my parents' house, they started picking up on the bridge lingo and would casually drop things at the table after a while, he really should have finessed in clubs, right? Without having no idea what they were talking about. And they were just enjoying themselves. But to them, 75% of the conversation at the dinner was always in another language, kind of. It's hard to say how they see it, except that they find it a little bit weird, maybe, but also a little bit interesting.
So if I magically gave you 10 or 20 hours extra a week to spend on bridge, and I said, you have to spend this on bridge, right? I'm going to pay you to work on your bridge game. What would you do with that extra time?
I would definitely use 10 of them to play one-day tournament each a week with a good partner, someone that I enjoy playing with, preferably with one of my partners for an upcoming tournament, but otherwise just with a great player that I enjoy playing with. I would maybe use 5 hours on reading and working on my system. I would dedicate 2 or 3 of those hours to reading a bridge book, since you so generously gave the time for that. And then for the last part, what would I do with the last part? I would, in some meaningful way, make it about partnership building. So some kind of conversations with a bridge partner about system, about hands, about carding, but just having in-depth conversation with that person, something like that.
So much of that is partnership based.
Yeah, I think partnership is extremely important for being successful and also for enjoying the game. For me, bridge is all about partnership.
Do you take any non-bridge vacation days?
They are very few. At the moment, especially now, since I have a partner who is also a bridge player. So when I use my vacation days for bridge, it also means that I can spend time with him. So it makes the choice quite easy. There's usually a few every year where we try to travel somewhere else, completely non-bridge related. For sure, 90% goes to bridge.
Yeah, it's got to be tough if the boyfriend doesn't play bridge. And it's like, we should take a trip together.
Yeah, I gave up on that a long time ago. And I've seen some of my friends and bridge partners who have non-bridge playing partners struggle a lot with this, justifying taking another 2 weeks off to go to some random place in the world and play cards instead of spending time with the family and the kids.
What are your theories on why men seem to dominate the top levels of bridge? Why aren't there more women in the finals of the Bermuda Bowl and the Spin Gold?
Well, that question is quite easy to answer if you just look at how many female players choose to participate in the tournament. The pool of female players is very low, but in general, this is a very sensitive topic to talk about. My personal belief is that there is no neurological or physical explanation as to why men should be better bridge players than women. And the way I see it, mostly of what's happened with bridge and what also happens in many sports and many fields in general, is that there are social reasons behind it. We know for a fact historically that there's been fewer women who has pursued bridge on a top level, both because there has been obstacles for them doing so. They were expected to stay home with kids, with family, and they were not expected to be ambitious in this way. Maybe even if they show this ambition, there was a captain or someone selecting a team that wouldn't pick women for whatever reasons. There has been these constant obstacles. I'm happy to say I feel like we now finally have some female players who are making it up to that very top level. But in general, I feel like a lot of female players still are choosing, for whatever reasons, not to dedicate as much time to bridge. And I think this is the general key. If that's because of how we are socialized, that female players feel, or females in general feel, a greater responsibility to also dedicate time to other things, to family, to friends, to getting a university degree or whatever. Or if it's because females don't have the same interest in the game, I can't tell you. But for sure, I think it's more about time and dedication than it's about any kind of physical or mental differences between the sexes in this regard. There's an interesting article that Samantha Punch published a couple of years ago about neurosexism. It was a new word for me. I'd never heard of it before. But it's basically about, she's interviewing a lot of top bridge players and hearing their views and their theories about why the female brain and the male brain might work differently and how that would affect your bridge playing abilities. But I don't think there is any substantial evidence to the fact that the male brain should be much better adapted to play bridge, let's say.
So if there's no physical or mental advantage, what do you think about the fact that we segregate women's bridge and mixed events? Do you think we should be sorting people by sex in bridge?
My highly personal opinion, it's a bit of a difficult topic for me because I'm also a part of the executive committee for the EBL. But my highly personal opinion is that the long-term goal should be that there are no mixed or female categories. I think every category should be open in bridge. And I think maybe you should start in the youth category in this regard. However, we still hear a lot of stories. There's still a lot of experience from female bridge players that they are being discriminated in different ways, that they are not feeling safe in tournaments, that they are not given the same opportunities as male players of reasonably same level or same age. And for all these reasons, I still think that the women's category and the mixed category serves a purpose. What I can envision maybe is that the female category, and I think we're already seeing this a little bit, the mixed category is gaining a lot of popularity in recent years. And a lot of female players are actually migrating into the mixed category. And I think the mixed category maybe can serve as a step into playing more open competition. And maybe this is the way forward. But for right now, we still see that there is a lot of people feeling the need for a female category.
I know you play plenty in open and women's and mix. Do you find one of them more enjoyable than the others?
I always prefer to play in the open category in general. On a professional level, I have also, like many other female players, really enjoyed the mixed category. One part of it that I really like, that in the mixed category, usually what we see is a lot of non-practiced partnerships. It's usually you have a lot of female partnerships and you have a lot of male partnerships. And then when it comes to the mix, there's a lot of unpracticed partnerships that are playing together. So if you put time into really create a stable partnership with agreements, and when you're on the same wavelength, you can benefit a lot from this. So this is one of the aspects I like. The second aspect I like about it is that it's, as a female player, it sometimes feels as an open category, but where you as a female player, first of all, play against many more female players, but it feels a little bit like your bridge is more important, in the sense that as a female player, you can contribute a lot to the result of the pair and the result of the team. But I mean, for me, bridge is bridge. I just want there to be as few obstacles as possible, and I prefer to play against people who are better than myself, even if it means I don't make it all the way, because I want to be better. But I enjoy the mixed category, and I think it's good that it's been growing.
So when you play for Sweden, which category do you like to play in?
I would love to play for the open team, but right now I'm not in contention for those positions. Maybe sometime in the future, if I'm able to dedicate more time to bridge, that could be a possibility. But I've played both on the mixed team and I played on the women's team several times. What I love about the women's team is that we are a group of great friends that have played together for many years and saw each other from when we were teenagers and up. So it's very relaxed and very familiar to play together with the women's team, or has been. In the youth, I always wanted to play in the open categories, of course, because I felt that was the highest level competition that was available.
What do you think about all these good players who have moved to America, you know, for professional reasons? Like, imagine how strong your team would be if no Swedish player had ever left.
Oh, we've let them know. No, but we are, of course, very happy for and supportive of them choosing to pursue a full-time career. And the way things look right now, that is much more possible to do if you live in the US. Yeah, we are proud to have exported some great bridge players to you guys. For sure.
Are there any sponsors comparable to what we have in the US and Sweden?
In Sweden, the professional market is very small. There is maybe 2 or 3 individuals who would sponsor and pay for teams. We have a bigger market of people who are interested in learning, so like to teach classes or something like this. But no, there's nothing comparable. We don't have the same traditions when it comes to professional bridge, and we likely never will. But if you go down to other countries in Europe, this kind of market exists. I mean, in France, in Italy, Poland, etc., there is a market for professional bridge. But as a Swedish or a Nordic bridge players, it's hard. It wouldn't be possible to play bridge full time from the comfort of your home or from Stockholm.
Do you think the lack of professional prospects at home, does that hurt the bridge in the country overall?
It's hard to say. I mean, now everything is so global and easily accessible, and people are playing over the internet and finding their ways to tournaments and connecting with partners and clients and what have you all over the world. So I feel like it doesn't really matter so much nowadays where you are living if you choose to pursue it full time. But on the other hand, I mean, what we can see, for instance, is for a nation like the US, if you go to a Bermuda Bowl or these big knockout tournaments, we know that the US players have a lot of experience and a lot of practice in playing long knockout matches. And we've seen it over and over again at these big international tournaments that teams from the US are managing to pick up 50 imps in the last segment or performing extremely well under this super high pressure towards the end of these matches. It would be naive to think that it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you have this great practice with your trials and with the way most high-level competition is structured in the US. So for sure, there's a benefit if you are exposed to this kind of bridge more often. But yeah, I mean, most of our top-level European players now are frequently coming to the US or to China or to other nations. So if you want it, you can have it, I think.
So if I gave you a magic wand and said, you know, you can do whatever you want to fix bridge, both in Sweden and worldwide, What kind of changes would you make?
My main focus would be on the survival of the game, recruiting young people, finding a way to make it attractive to young players, making bridge not a thing of the past for them. That would be my top priority. I wouldn't solely look at Sweden in that case. I would look at most of Europe, but also maybe South America and Africa. It would be wonderful to make bridge a bigger sport also in continents where it is not right now. I think there's a lot of potential if kids in Botswana or Kenya or somewhere else would like to learn. So that would be a big part of the time and money. What else would I do? I would make bridge fair for all. So we would only have the open categories, but everyone would be treated fairly and equally and be judged on their merits. I would find a way to get rid of all types of cheating.
How do we make the game more attractive to young people?
One way, of course, is that we can use the fact that young kids are on tablets and online to a great extent nowadays, and we can find ways to make bridge a fun game that you download in your phone and you play on the school bus, or that you play breaks in school, etc. But the other way is maybe we should try to benefit from the fact that we are not necessarily an online game as well, in the sense that I feel there's a lot of kids today that are lacking human connection, lacking time away from their screens as well. And bridge can be an extremely good opportunity to spend time away from your computer and your phone and work on real human connection. So I think we probably need to work on both parts, and it will attract different people. And then I think we need to help each other more. We need to work MBO to MBO to a greater extent. Right now, in a lot of countries, you have like one very passionate individual who lives in one city and has connection with one or two schools in that city, and they can start a big local project. But to get momentum, you need more people, you need a greater organization. I would love if we were able to learn bridge on a wide scale to schools all over Europe, and then we could have some kind of online competition where they all compete against each other and they get this like greater connection out of it.
Have you had experience as a young woman or when you were a girl of kind of the dirty old men of bridge? Have you felt uncomfortable with some of the men?
Yes, I think that's inevitable in life, but for sure the bridge world is not a safe environment. And I think maybe I was exposed to it in the bridge world a bit earlier than I was in society in general. But on the other hand, I entered the bridge world quite young. So it was also the environment where I met the most grown-up people first.
How do we change that culture? I mean, I have juniors that I mentor who are women, and they say they play in the women's events just because the men are so gross in the open events.
It's a very hard question to answer. I mean, obviously, the ACBL or the organizing committee should have a zero tolerance policy, but a lot of it is not specific to bridge. It's just bridge is an outlet from. I mean, these are people who have this kind of use in maybe all parts of their life. So identifying it is important. Having a safe option for people to report behavior is important, and also that you follow up on it. I know for a fact that at one of the recent World Championships, UBF had to disqualify 2 or 3 individuals, I think, for inappropriate behavior during the tournament towards female players, which sounds like a shocking amount of people. But on the other hand, it also makes me glad the fact that they decided to act and do something about it when it appeared. I hope that society in general is developing in this area. I mean, right now, it doesn't look politically like we are moving in a direction of more tolerance at the moment in some countries. But I hope this is just a temporary trend and not something that will stay forever. But yeah, I mean, it's important then for you as a mentor or as a trainer that you take their comments seriously and that you listen to them and that you make sure to follow up, because I can't imagine anything worse than when you tell about that kind of experience and nothing is done about it and there is no reaction. And this is the worst experience, I would say.
Yeah. Well, on that uplifting note, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you so much. It's always great to talk with you, Ida. Yeah, I think this was fantastic.
It was a great conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me.